Thanks for coming, everyone. We are basically here just to provide you an orientation about what's included in the EAP benefit. The EAP is an employee assistance program, and what that is essentially professional guidance around life's issues. We all know those happen. And so it covers anything from emotional health, drug and alcohol issues, workplace issues, and financial and legal services, in addition to some wellness services. But really, the important thing is we handed out an envelope to you, and if you're remote, certainly you can access that material from the HR team here at the forum. But with that, know that it's confidential. We have to be HIPAA compliant, just like the medical world, so it's the law. And then it's also a value that we hold very sacred. So if you access any of these services, your household members wouldn't know, coworkers wouldn't know, management wouldn't know, and so be assured of that. We do mean for you to share these envelopes with your household members as well. And I'll go over in a minute, how to access the benefit, how many sessions you get. But before I do that, I also want to remind you on why a good EAP is in place, a robust EAP. And it's really an obvious point. It's difficult for us to be completely present at work if we're dealing with any personal issues, as it is difficult for us if our household members are dealing with any issues. So not only does it help you personally, but it also helps you in the productivity that you have as well. So it's a win-win type of benefit. And then from that, know that the Forum Communications really cares about your wellness, and they care that you should have the services that if you should need them. So that's why this EAP is in place. In addition, really want to remind you today, we can all be good to go, but you just never know what life brings you down the road. And so we're going to go into the areas that are covered in terms of the services, the collection of services for the EAP. And keep in mind that an EAP is short-term wellness counseling. Beyond that, if a diagnosis is ever needed, we can do referrals, and a referral will be made for a diagnosis. So it's a great place to start with any type of issue in that way. So the first area that we cover is anything to do with relationships. The Village in 2017 had nearly 17,000 appointments, and 38% of those appointments were around relationships in one way, shape, or form. Whether it was couples counseling, family issues, child-family conflicts, workplace relationships. We as humans are extra happy when our relationships are intact, and so it's a good benefit in that way, just to talk to a counselor and work through some of those issues. Another area that's covered is anything to do with emotional health. And that is a really important area. The more and more research we do, the more we know that emotional health is directly connected to physical health. So that includes things like stress, depression, anxiety, certainly anything to do with guilt or self-esteem, but also grief issues, elder care situations. So really a good idea to access the benefit, and a really important part of your wellness in those times when you're experiencing emotional issues. Another area that's covered is anything to do with drug and alcohol issues. Any robust EAP will have very good drug and alcohol services, and that includes chemical dependency evaluations, it includes chemical dependency assessments, drug and alcohol education, and anything to do with aftercare, post-treatment counseling. If you access treatment, whether inpatient, outpatient treatment for drug and alcohol issues, they'll often recommend aftercare, but the treatment itself is a self-pay or health insurance pay source. But the EAP covers the referrals, it covers assessments, evaluations, and then the aftercare. In the post-World War II time, EAPs actually came out of that time when they were pulling workers off the streets, or service people that came back from the war, and the EAP actually evolved out of those times because there was a lot of people not good to go, a lot of PTSD issues, a lot of drug and alcohol use, And so that is really the foundational point of when an EAP actually started. They called it alcohol assistance programs, or the other name was occupational assistance program. In addition, with that, another major area that we cover is anything to do with workplace issues. Come to work every day, you want to be as happy as possible at work, and so this benefit covers anything to do with workplace stress, coping with change. Conflict is natural, and so sometimes just talking to somebody objective about situations that are happening at work can really be a big part of your wellness as well. And certainly what I know, my sister used to be an editor of a newspaper, and I know there's a lot of stress in the work that you guys do. And so again, just talking to somebody and working through ways to manage that is really important for your health. Another area that's covered is anything to do with financial issues. We run a financial resource center, and that covers debt management, money management, budgeting, anything to do with help with money. Student loan planning, student loan repayment. They'll take an objective look at a retirement plan. They're never going to try to sell you a product. They'll just help you with decisions about financial products that you may be looking at, and or your portfolio. It's not necessarily financial planning for retirement, but it's budgeting on the side of that. So again, anything, if you ever have any questions about money, think of the EAP and call us. Another area that's covered is legal services, and that is anything to do with family law or civil law. If you have a legal question, it's a great place to start. So, divorce, custody, wills, anything to do with property disputes, neighborhood disputes, selling a motor vehicle, any legal issue with the exception of employment law is covered under our legal services. And that is a really great place to start with those legal questions. It can take the stress away. It's telephonic in nature initially, but if you go forward with legal action with that particular lawyer, you can get a 25% discount on the services. So again, it's a great place to start with those questions. We also have some wellness services included, and that would be anything to do with a education class, a wellness education class. So I mentioned drug and alcohol education, but another example of that would be anything to do with mindfulness, and mindfulness has been proven to be a great stress management technique. Any class on, we offer one in Fargo called Mind Over Mood. Anything to do with self-esteem or parenting classes, stress management type classes, those are covered under your EAP, so just call us first before you start taking the class. And it doesn't have to be a village offered class, it could be any class in the community. So again, it's a good wellness piece for you. We also have a health risk assessment available. If you've never done that before, it's really a great exercise. Good time to do it is after you've had some biometric testing, so blood pressure, weight, things like that. You put those biometrics in to this tool. It's an online tool. Answer some wellness type questions. It gives you a score, and it's really not the score you think you should have very often. And so it gives you some positive recommendations on how to improve your health as well. So it's a really great exercise if you've never done that. In addition, there's nutrition counseling available as well, and that is also included in your EAP. So that's kind of the collection of services that we offer, and really want to now focus on how many sessions you get. We have for the Forum Communications contract is January 1 to December 31 annually. And annually, if you're a single person, you get 8 sessions allotted to you, and we believe in that face-to-face counseling model. Otherwise, it's 4 times the number of people in the household. So let's say you had a household of 4. That'd be 16 sessions. All 16 sessions can be used by one person if needed. The sessions are transferable amongst the household members. So the household is allotted a number of services, and it's up to the household as to how they want to use those sessions. The sessions reset again on January 1st. So that's really how the session model works. And if you ever have any questions about that, you can always ask our intake office about it. We do a lot in blocks of 4, and that's just a way for us to manage the sessions for the household. So just keep that in mind as well. It doesn't mean you have only 4. So your counselor will also help work with you on that. Another thing that I want to point out is the blue card that you received in this envelope is the way to access all services. And that's the 800 number right here. It's basically when you call in, our intake staff will guide you through the process. But they'll ask for your name, your phone number, address, a brief description of why you're calling. You know, is it relationship counseling? Is it debt management? They'll just need to know enough information to get you to the right provider. With that, let them know that you also work for Forum Communications and the number of people in your household. And so once you give them all that information, there's an online intake process that they'll help you out with. But once they get you set up, you are then set up with a provider. And just know that in Fargo, we generally start you with our village office, but we also have offices throughout the Midwest, throughout North Dakota, throughout Minnesota. We have 24 offices in those 2 states, but we have affiliate providers in states like South Dakota and Wisconsin and throughout the nation. So just know that we can always find you a provider in your town. If we haven't already set one up, you may have to give us a little bit of time, but we will set that provider up for you. We believe, as I said before, in that face-to-face model. Another thing that we can offer in North Dakota and Minnesota today, and very soon South Dakota, is web-based counseling. And so if you would prefer, in the comfort of your home, on your couch, you can set up a counseling session. They often, as with most of our counseling affiliates, you can set up appointments at night. And if you have a webcam and internet, you can do that there. Otherwise, you can also do it on your phone. So we have a mobile app that's HIPAA compliant now, and if people prefer, they can actually have a counseling session on their phone as well. So again, just trying to meet the needs of what the clients want. We don't mean to replace it with an in-office visit, but it is an option for those in rural areas maybe when it's difficult sometimes to get somewhere to a counseling office, or there's a blizzard or something like that. Also know that we offer crisis counseling 24/7, and if somebody calls in with a serious situation, we'll connect you with a counselor. If it's after hours, all you have to do is stay on the line and you'll be connected to a licensed counselor. So just know that we will deliver telephonic counseling in a crisis if needed as well. And there's other crisis lines out there, but we're also an option that way. Want to make you aware of the wellness website that we have right here. We just developed have a new look to it, but know that one place I want to point you out to is under this introduction. There is information for your household members as well to take a look, but there's the employee newsletters are archived there, and there's some information on the EAP, and this is simply villageeap.com on this blue card, and you type in Forum Communications, Forum Space Communications, and you're logged into this wellness website. In addition to that, know that you're able to access a bunch of resources, wellness resources, child care, just a plethora of things here. And then also there's when you're on the Home tab, there's a place where you can select what topic you're looking for. So if it's ways to reduce your stress, you can select that. And then from there, just get really good research qualified information on wellness type topics. So keep in mind that this is a website for you and a resource for you with any of those wellness questions. I just want to say that we feel really good about the services that we can offer you. Know that self-care is a really big part of wellness. So whether your self-care idea is kayaking or mindfulness or yoga or fitness, the EAP and taking care of emotional health with counseling can be a part of that as well. And so we feel good about that. It's important to manage stress for long-term health. And just know that the one thing that we stand by is this 800 number is always, when you make a call, we always say it's a sign of courage, never a sign of weakness. And so always keep that in mind as well. So any questions that you guys might have about our services? Or anything I didn't cover?
Sessions for our household, you can use those for all one person, or right? Is that correct?
Yes, and so one person can use all the sessions. If one person is using, I'll just use an example, 8-10 sessions of the household number for one issue, like anxiety, for example, then, which can be a diagnosable issue. We will refer on at some point because we don't necessarily prescribe meds or that kind of thing. So if it's doctor level services, somebody might be referred on at that point for insurance-based work. We always hope people remember that they have the EAP before they would try to put any type of counseling on insurance, right? Because it's a free resource for you to at least start the process. So that's something that gets a little bit tricky sometimes. The other thing I didn't mention before, which sometimes is a question, for a child to receive services, the employee has to have custody, okay? And so that's another thing. And another area with children is children under the age of 7, usually by definition, or close to that, by definition is diagnosable if there's issues in that way. Sometimes not, but young children is very often a very specialized area. Yeah. Good question. Thanks. All right, well, have a great day and be well.